Okay, hey, welcome everybody. It is Wednesday, 7 o'clock, and I'm hearing myself on somebody's computer. I'm not sure. Anyway, we are doing a classic sci-fi movie of all time, probably one of the best known, which is the uh, 2001: A Space Odyssey. And of course, Bruce decided he wanted to join us, so we figured, what the hell, we'll let him join.
Gee, thanks.
So yeah, hey Barton, how are you? And thanks for joining.
Hey,
Oh, but before we get into the Space Odyssey, we have news.
I have such tiny news. I have tiny tidbits of news.
News is good.
I have five little. They're so tiny. They're like news. They're not even a full news meal. It's like news hors d'oeuvres. It's like a moose bouche, but for news. It's like a moose bouche, but not for your bouche. It's for your tête or your cerveau, whatever your brain is in
I don't know.
French.
You're starting into buzzes and clicks at this point. So let's get to
it. News number one. Anson Mount has posted a picture. He posted a picture of his foot by his gas pedal. He's posted that he and the Fam Jam are on their way back to Toronto to start filming Strange New Worlds season. What are they on now? Three. I was super excited. I know you don't like Strange New Worlds, Rizzo, but for some reason, it's growing on me. Like it entertains me. I don't know why. It just does. News number two. Patrick Stewart. Okay, so this is a little bit of a weird piece of news. A bunch of the outlets picked this up and ran with it yesterday. And I don't know why, because he actually said this back in November, but it came out yesterday. Patrick did an interview on the Happy, Sad, Confused podcast and said the following. He said, I heard about a script being written and I'm told to expect it in a week or so. I'm so excited because it sounds like the kind of project where the experimentation that I want to do will be essential. And he is, of course, talking about a possible Star Trek Picard movie. What do you guys think? Should that go into movie format?
Nope.
Resounding no. Why?
Because, okay, we had Picard season 1 and 2, which were not good. And then you got into season 3, and it was much better, and it kind of wrapped things up for that crew, in my opinion. We kind of had a closure because we came full circle. We were on the D bridge. Just let it go, because I think it's just to drag him onto screen again. I think it's kind of like, all the Indiana Jones movies. It's like, okay, here he is again with the walker. Although I didn't mind, I thought Dial of Destiny was actually pretty good. Do we really need to do this? Keep dragging this character, let him retire. Let it be.
It's simple. It's Nemesis, Insurrection, Generations. Oh, First Contact. Fantastic. 1 out of 4, not good odds.
That's a good point, because that's true. They have not had, as far as the next generation films have gone. And I think primarily, as we've talked about this for Star Trek in general, Star Trek is a small screen franchise. It does better as a television show than it does as a movie. We had our flashes. We had our, certainly with Wrath of Khan and stuff like that. And there's certainly been some good films, but yeah, you're right. Really, out of for the next gen, the only really good one was First Contact, which James will tell you is wrong, because Zephram Cochrane was from Alpha Centauri.
And by I mean Patrick Stewart. Patrick Stewart still feels that there's something to explore with that character. But his sentence about the experimentation that I want to do, that makes me very nervous. I don't think I like where he.
Well, that's what he wanted to do with Picard season 1. That was the whole point. Yes. Don't you remember? They were going to change things up. He wanted to do different things. He didn't want to do the same old Picard character, and we saw where that ended up going. And it just, and like I said, if you talk to Dave Blass, who worked on these shows, and he said they pretty much went into that going, we don't care if nobody likes it. We're going to do this.
That's what it is. All right, I'll move on. Number 3, the last of my Star Trek news for tonight, the Hollywood Creative Alliance Awards, also known as the ASTRA Awards. Congratulations to Best Supporting Actress in a Streaming Series. It was a tie between Elizabeth Debicki for The Crown and Jerry Ryan for Star Trek Picard. Good job, Jerry. And Terry Matalas went home with an ASTRA Award for Best Writing in a Streaming Drama Series, which of course he shared with the entire writing room. Good job, Star Trek Picard. That's the only award Star Trek's getting. They've got nothing at Golden Globes. They got squat at the Creative Emmys. So I guess we'll have to settle for ASTRA Awards. Number 4, the last season of Stranger Things is finally in production. They have just kicked that off, and we have no idea when it will be released, but Stranger Things fans everywhere are cheering. And finally tonight, number 5, you guys are not excited about a Star Trek Picard movie, but maybe you might like this. I don't know, maybe not. There has been chatter online about Lucasfilm potentially bringing The Mandalorian to the big screen, and it has finally been confirmed. Just yesterday on some social media and today on other social media, the official Star Wars main accounts posted that The Mandalorian and Grogu is the name of the film. Jon Favreau is stepping behind the camera to direct and also produce alongside Kathleen Kennedy and Dave Filoni. The plan is for production to begin later this year, and hopefully it can be released in 2025. But what does this mean for Mandalorian season 4? Will it happen? Or is it scrubbed altogether?
I don't know. I don't know if a film is really.
But they're doing it. It's been announced.
Yeah, because I don't know. Yeah, they must. You know what it is? I bet you there's a bigger cash grab with.
I don't know. I think it's working just fine as a TV show.
I agree, but
I don't think it needs to be a movie. Just side note, Filoni is also working
with films, though. Really, I mean, aside from Rogue One.
Yeah.
The rest of their films have not been good. And it looks like, from what I've heard about the new Rey movie, it's already under a lot of controversy with the director and everything else. So I don't know what they're doing. I guess they're following that Paramount lead of we need the new.
I guess. I don't know. I don't know what storytelling they want to tell, how this is going to tie into the main. I mean, I guess it will. I bet Katie Sackhoff and all them will show up. Just side note, Filoni is also working on Ahsoka season 2. So he's got all that stuff to pull in too. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know where they're going with this.
Alex is right. With John, I think the saving grace here is that Favreau and Filoni are in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. If they can do it right,
and I'm sure it'll probably be a good film, just because they will keep it on track with Star Wars.
Yeah. Well, all right, because that's my 5 news tidbits for tonight. Rizzo, do we have a drink?
There's a 5.5.
Bruce,
What's that, Bruce?
Those aren't watching. This week is the season finale of For All Mankind season 4. If you haven't been watching,
and it's so good.
It is very good. This season, season they push the envelope a little farther as far as it's good though. It's certainly the best thing on Apple. I mean, if you watch Apple,
yeah, I agree. I agree.
Apple's had some good stuff. I don't want to, but this is by far their shining jewel in their lineup, so to speak. So yes, we do have a drink, and it's called a Space Odyssey. Why not? Nice. Bacardi 151 and Malibu. This is going to knock you into orbit. So if you're going to make it, might want to not be going anywhere after you drink it. Pineapple juice, orange juice, grenadine, very fruity. Probably comes with a matching purse, but hey, why not? That's a running joke with the fruity drinks.
But Ken's not here tonight, so
Ken's not here, but he's in spirit.
In spirit. because
Now,
we've summoned him via his purse
colors
string.
supposed to match up with the end sequence there. The
Yeah,
space
there you
force?
go. That works for me. There, we'll go with that.
If you drink enough of it, do you go through the Stargate and see all that like psychedelic?
So, yeah. So anyway, all right. So 2001. So one of the reasons we're doing is we know Roy just did 2010, so we figure what the hell we'll do 2001. We did. Those of you who don't know, we did 2010. Oh, a couple of years ago. I think it was. So you can go back and watch that one after this one if you want, I guess, and see what we said about that one. But so this one obviously was 1968. Sort of ghost written at the time by Arthur C. Clarke, and of course, this was a landmark film for Kubrick, who was Stanley Kubrick, who was the director. And probably I would say this was Kubrick's best film. He had some good ones, but he had some weird,
fabulous films. The man is talented.
Yeah, I mean, he did Full Metal Jacket, right? That was Kubrick,
Mhm.
right? Yeah, which to me that would be his second best one, in my opinion.
Let me pull
I'm
up
not a
Kubrick.
fan of Clockwork Orange. Certainly not a fan of Eyes Wide Shut, which was his last.
No, Eyes Wide Shut is one of his rare.
Dr. Strangelove?
Dr. Strangelove is a good one. I still like. I think as far as rating them, I still think Full Metal Jacket is better than Strangelove. Strangelove was very political. It was politically motivated. I mean, he did that as a very obvious.
Really?
I mean, so But anyway, we're not talking about those. We're talking about 2001: Space Odyssey. Originally, like I said, the Arthur C. Clarke kind of ghost wrote this with him. Although I know Arthur was not happy with what ended up on screen, with what he wrote.
Yeah,
there was a story where he literally got up and walked out of the premiere.
I didn't come across that in my research. What I got was, they did. Arthur fleshed it out a lot more in the book than what Stanley was willing to commit to film. Stanley was working in very vagary, all kinds of vagary, and on purpose. Whereas Arthur was ready to actually explain some stuff. Like he explains what the monoliths are. He explains,
Well,
that's okay. He was writing the book based on seeing dailies, whatever dailies Stanley was willing to show him. That's
one thing you have to remember about Arthur C. Clarke is Arthur really understood science. He was literally like a scientist. I mean, he's the guy that basically came up with geosynchronous orbit. You know what I'm saying? Which he, I guess, tried to patent, but I guess they said you can't patent that.
How you did a show called The Science in the Movies or something like that? What was accurate and what wasn't? And I think we did this movie for that show.
Yeah.
I remember a lot of the science remains to this day quite accurate. A few things are wrong, and we can talk about them if you want, but this is a really well researched.
I mean, the fact that they didn't do any sound in space and the whole
accurate.
When they are in space, they're doing the EVAs, all you hear is the breathing.
Yeah.
You don't, there's no in music. You don't hear any rockets, you don't hear any thrusts, which we all know sound doesn't travel through space, so you wouldn't hear anything. But you would hear something inside your suit. That makes sense, So those are the things that I think made it realistic. Now, to an audience in 1968, I think this got lost on a lot of people.
It probably did.
I think a lot of people, I mean, to me, if you try and review this as a narrative, as a story, it doesn't work. It's more of an experience. It's more, some songs have words. Some songs tell a story. Some songs have no words whatsoever. To me, it's you can't relate to it as telling a story. It's something to experience. It invokes emotions, if you will.
Yeah, I completely agree. And while Kubrick did finally say what, people explain it, and he did finally explain it, but for a long time, and sort of in between times being asked, he would say, no, you know what, it's okay to interpret it. You can all interpret it as you.
Well, yeah, and I would recommend. I did read as a teenager. I did read the novelization, Arthur C. Clarke's, novelization of the film. and it does explain the ending a lot
more.
so that you understand what exactly happened. Because let's face it, I think all that psychedelic colors and all the weird stuff that we get before we get to the hotel room, which is basically based off, I forget the name of the hotel, but it's a very well known. Before we get to that point where he's they didn't know what, I think the effects guys were, I don't know what we're supposed to do.
Probably.
Like,
Because
we're just gonna do this, and I don't know what we're supposed to do.
yeah, they probably were. Stanley often said, and he did. I don't think it bothers Stanley Kubrick that the novel was more fleshed out, because Stanley would say, no, the movie is like the Mona Lisa. If at the bottom of the Mona Lisa they had written, and she's not smiling big and showing her teeth because her teeth were rotten, or because she's keeping a secret. Like, if you explain it, suddenly it loses its magic. And I think if this movie had been explained too much, a lot of magic would be gone.
To me, the best artwork uses what I term as negative space. What's not there is as important as what is there. And the best example in the movie, small example, is they never say Clavius is on the moon. They meet in a hotel. They meet in the hotel. They talk. We're going to Clavius, but they don't say
They
Clavius
start asking him about it. He can't answer them.
But that's what you would say if you were on a business trip and everybody knows where Clavius is. You wouldn't say Clavius on the moon or anything like that. And the absence of sound, the absence of some of the explanations, I think just heighten, the juxtaposition of the wonder of space with the banality of a business trip.
Yeah, and Bruce, along with that, what he added in there were the things that were common to the day. We had Pan Am was the Clipper shuttle. We had the phone with Bell, of course, but that was before the phone companies were broken up. We had Bell Telephone was his putting the thing. So Howard Johnson's, how ironic, they put Howard Johnson's on a space station. Now you can't even find one still open anywhere. But maybe if they had made it to the wheel, as they called it.
So economics isn't his strong point, okay?
No, but I mean, but to your point, that's what I'm saying. He added in these familiar things that people could still relate to. That, because you remember, this was 1968, and so you're talking 30 years later, basically 32 years later. This is supposed, now we didn't come anywhere near the advancements, which is kind of what For All Mankind was saying, is that had we kept pushing the space program, where would we be? What really, because you think about what we probably could have easily been colonizing the moon by now had we kept pushing ahead.
Absolutely. There's from a technology point of view, really, there's very little in 2001 that we couldn't do. Maybe it would have been 2010, 2015 by the time we could have done it. But there's nothing there that we couldn't do today, except maybe the suspended animation. But the tablets, the talking computers, all of that sort of stuff, even getting to the moon, Discovery wasn't way advanced. I mean, it had centrifugal gravity. We could do it.
And they accurately predicted a bunch of stuff. Haywood's kid, who is actually Stanley Kubrick's kid, his daughter Vivian, she says, I want a bush baby. There's a deleted scene where he's ordering her a bush baby. Like, he's going essentially online and ordering her a bush baby. And I mean, that was so prescient. Like, for they filmed the thing in 65, right? 65, 66.
And this is where it's really good, is that banality of everyday life. He got it so right. The corporations might have changed, but you look at Bowman and anyway, the other guy,
Frank Poole.
We have Poole and Bowman sitting there having dinner, looking at their pads,
watching their tablets, right? They're on little screens. Yeah,
and I'll tell you right now, as a traveling businessman, what he shows about going to the hotel, talking with your colleagues and stuff, that is so true today. I mean,
yeah, it was like I said, it was, of course, he knew it was not a average business trip to the moon. And of course he had that whole scene where he meets the Russian scientists, and of course he has to use the cover story that there's some kind of infection disease or whatever at Clavius. And but the other point though, you're talking. He's when they're in the moon bus there going out to the Tycho crater, and they're eating the sandwiches. Apparently, to make it a space sandwich, you just cut the crust off. But the thing is, they're getting better about this every day. And anybody who's been in the service and had to eat MREs knows exactly what he kind of means. Because if the old C rations, which were horrid, and then the MREs slowly over time got better, so they almost were palatable.
Yep,
you always be trading the different ones. You stayed away from anything with the meat. You always want pasta.
Exactly. The Tycho station. Why did they say there was an epidemic? Because they dug that thing out. Wouldn't anyone with a telescope be able to? Or was it on the far side of the moon or something?
Well, even if it was,
no, you can see the Earth.
You can't see things. People think you could look at the moon, but you still can't see the landing sites from any of the Apollo missions with a telescope.
Yeah, a regular household telescope.
How lit up that was.
Yeah, it was all lit up too. Yeah.
Well, that's what they were saying though. But they were like, the moon's still a pretty big place. It's not like it's,
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I'm saying?
If you say there's an epidemic and you know where Clavius is and you know where Tycho is, you think somebody with the size, with the resources of Russia.
Nobody knew anything was going on at Tycho. Everything thought it was at Clavius. Clavius obviously was the closest U.S. base to Tycho crater, but the crater was just the crater, and nobody would have thought to look there for anything because they didn't know. They thought the problem was at Clavius. So, and even if they did, what are they going to see? They're going to see a crater with a bunch of lights because they're not going to be able to pick that black dead monolith that sucks up all the light from a telescope. You're just not going to see anything.
Yeah, good point. I didn't think about that. The other little tidbit, and I don't see Dr. Alexander in the chat. I heard, and I have yet to research this to confirm, in real life, because you're saying we could have done it. Did our program just get pushed back a year or something? The Artemis program?
Yeah.
It got pushed back a little bit.
Well, they had a problem with that one that was supposed to land that they just launched.
Yeah, but that was a private company.
Yeah, but NASA was still involved. It was they were contracted by NASA to do it. So, but it's unfortunate that it's probably not going to land because it ran at leaked fuel or something. Anyway, that's another story. But yeah, I mean, there's always with any of these movies we could sit there and go, well, why didn't anybody just happen to fly over it and see the thing? And clearly there was rumors by the time we did, when we get to 2010, they're talking about that. We heard something about being dug up on the moon, and you should share this information and stuff like that. So obviously stuff got leaked, as it always does. But what I didn't understand was why when they see that there's another monolith at Jupiter, and
they couldn't. They didn't see that there was another monolith. They knew that's where the transmission was.
Mission went, but why keep that so secret from the? I didn't ever understood why they had to keep it secret from.
Why did Hal have to keep it confidential? Why couldn't they just tell friends and the other guys, hey, go check out that signal? Or go check out whatever.
Yeah, I don't understand why those guys were kept in the dark. That never really made any sense. I mean, I know that there's always covert this and covert that, but it seemed like the crew that would be on board would need to know.
I think the three in hibernation knew.
Yes,
because remember, Bowman and Poole didn't know. They were just the truck drivers. They were just going to get them there, I think.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, they're not just truck drivers, though.
They're not. Why there was absolutely no reason for secrecy.
Yeah. Bill Williams, Bill saying compartmentalization. That's true. I get it, but
sometimes
in this situation, I would think the compartment would be the whole ship.
Yeah, but you still have communication with Earth and stuff like that, and it's probably just a knee jerk reaction. And plus, there was no reason for Hal to go crazy then.
Well, they had no idea that by giving him those conflicting orders would basically drive him insane, which is
Yeah, Phil's saying the Americans wanted to control it. Yeah, I guess we didn't know if we could, but I guess that's typical.
true.
That's on brand.
But it was an all-American crew. It was an American ship.
It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't.
This was not a multinational.
It
Odyssey.
seems like we were still very. We weren't. It wasn't one big happy like we are supposed to have on Happy Valley or whatever the name is on Mars there. But because at the beginning, all those satellites that we see, you can still sort of see national insignia on them, and they were all meant to have nukes on them. All the satellites at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, the weapons.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
they doubled down on that obviously in 2010 in the next film.
Yeah,
but so there's definitely tension. But again, my point is you're not even talking about an international crew. You're talking about, and I don't know. Maybe I wish Doc Alexander, if he was here, maybe he could answer, because I know the shuttle had launched some top secret military stuff, satellites, and I wonder if the crew knew what they were launching, or if they were like, just set it where we tell you and shut up.
You know what? Bill Sotak just said that. He's like, guys, it's the government. They don't need a good reason.
No, but they don't. That's the thing.
The government gonna do what the government gonna do.
However, anyway, the interesting thing about, of course, this film is it goes about 20 minutes without any dialogue.
More than that. It's like 88 minutes out of the total 2.5 hour runtime. It has no dialogue. 88. That's an entire movie, guys.
No, I'm talking about, but in the first, with the whole scene with the monkeys.
The Dawn of Man.
Yeah, the whole Dawn of Man.
That's those 20 minutes. No, but then there's lots of other scenes without dialogue.
And I bet you, I don't know if there's another.
The Space Gate scene is like 10 minutes, just 10 minutes of psychedelics.
Clearly not a lot of dialogue in this film, period.
Yeah.
Period. But we get some really, 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 thank you, Douglas Trumbull, some really nice visual effects.
They told them
some really nice, what do they call it?
Sets.
The music. You got Blue Danube there, and
thus spoke Zarathustra.
Which, what's interesting is they had a composer working on a whole, and they put in like Blue Danube and the other stuff in there just as a holder piece, and Kubrick was just like, yeah, we're keeping this.
Yeah.
And the guy that wrote all that other music was pissed.
And I'm sure it was. If you are curious to know what he composed for this film, watch the film Shanks, because apparently he ended up using the music for that.
But it's really interesting is that they don't overlap music and dialogue. You either have a scene with dialogue or you have a scene with music. You don't have the two of them together. And again, it was that, wonder of space, wonder of the visuals versus the mundane of human life.
And the dialogue is not very revealing at all. Even like it drops hints, but it doesn't. There's no exposition in this film, none.
Which is beautiful.
Again, getting back to the kind of, it was very run of the mill when they have that kind of that briefing scene on the moon, and the guy's running around with a little funny camera taking pictures of the top secret government meeting. The questions that the people, it was very realistic, like he's saying, it was very so nonchalant, like the way they were talking. It wasn't like, oh my God, there's this thing, it's like, how do we handle this? And it was just, I guess it's like I say to you, it was very real life, there wasn't a lot of drama generated in that meeting. You're just, guys are like, yeah, we got this thing, we got to figure out what it is. We'll just keep our mouths shut for now. And, and then of course we get to Discovery, which again is the eeriness of I think he does a really good job of portraying the emptiness of space.
Yes.
We think about, Mars and Jupiter, it's like, they're in our solar system. But even them are immensely far away, and there's just nothing in between. It's just, and
look at our background. Look at our background here. I mean, we've got all these nebulas and
right. It doesn't look like that.
No, it's black.
It's black. And for the most part, and that's always, every time, where are the stars? Well, it's because the camera has to, because of the brightness. Now, I don't know how bright the sun would be out when they get close to Jupiter. It still looked very bright, like reflecting off the ship. I don't know how, again, maybe Doc, if he was here, could throw some light, shed some light on that.
It may be generated images to show how bright the sun looks from Jupiter.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, but again, the realism, you notice that too, that, all the shots, of course, are linear. They're always, everything's moving in like one direction. There's no, which again is what people, that's one of the complaints. People say, well, it doesn't really hold up to today's effects, because they could have done, sure, they would have done some CGI and probably rolled around the ship. And
great job for 1965.
But it still holds up. I
whatever
don't care what you say, that ship looks as real as anything.
The ship looks great.
It looks real. Even all the weightless stuff, to me, still holds really well.
It's reasonable, yeah.
There's the pen floating kind of thing, and she goes and puts it in his pocket. Those scenes. And if you ever watch any of the making of it, it's really clever how they did. Those are all practical effects, because they didn't have
all in camera. Yep.
Yeah, and you guys have seen how he built the whole scene where Poole is running, and how they shot that. That's an amazing shot.
Right.
That whole thing is, that whole centrifuge is built. It's on, and it rotates, and the camera is on a track. You can see the track if you look. It's one of those things, once you see it, you can't unsee it. But there's a tiny little track slot in the middle of the floor, and the camera rides in there, and that's how they got that shot. And he was literally running, and the thing was rotating, and the camera was right there in front of him. So just amazing how they built all that, and it works.
Wildly expensive for the day, but it worked beautifully, and it was groundbreaking. I think a lot of movies after that were like, yeah, we're doing this. Yeah. A lot of his stuff was accurate. A few things that were not accurate, you'll notice Bowman holds his breath when he pulls the pod up to the main ship, and he's gonna blow those explosive. He's gonna blow the hatch to get back in. He holds his breath. He probably should have exhaled for that.
Yeah, that would have
been. And when he blew it and he got blown in, that pod should have got blown back away from it. But that's okay. We're gonna forgive them. They did a spectacular job for what they knew in 1965.
Sorry, that was my fault.
Kubrick it was so accurate and so up to speed that Kubrick was worried that like new information would come out and like undo everything he'd worked on. He actually took an insurance policy out.
We tried to take insurance policy out that we would discover aliens before the film was actually released.
That's what it was. Yes.
But Lloyd's wouldn't do it.
They wouldn't. See, I thought he did. It was expensive, but he got it. He got the policy.
No, they said what I read said they didn't. I just wanted to mention.
Really, I thought that would be easy money for them.
Yeah. Oh, exactly, and that's what the comment was afterwards. But Captain Phil, you said, it was supposed to be Saturn that they were going to, but the effects, they couldn't do the rings.
Rings, right?
Yeah, and then Douglas Trumbull, this is the only Academy Award that Kubrick ever got was for the visual effects of this film. And even Douglas Trumbull said that he shouldn't have got that. He's saying that he shouldn't have. There wasn't a lot of things that he deserved an Academy Award for. What he's saying was he wasn't the guy that did the special effects.
Yeah. Poor Doug. Sorry, Doug. You got gypped out of your work. Here's the thing, guys, is this was filmed in 65-ish. It was released in 68. 68 was also Planet of the Apes. Planet of the Apes won Best Costumes for the Monkeys, the Academy Award that year. And I got to tell you, I think 2001's Monkeys are leaps and bounds better. Like, there's so much better.
I mean, here's the thing. They're two different kinds of monkeys, because in Planet of the Apes, they are more humanized monkeys. They're kind of
so ours are Australopithecus or whatever. I don't care. Ours are better.
Yeah. Well, you know how they shot a lot of that too, was all those scenes was those were all done with cyc walls, like, and they actually went out and shot real places in Africa and whatever, and then were projecting that and into the studio to create.
Mountain Ring starts with an S, yeah.
But I don't know.
Think of Planet of the Apes and those monkeys and the way their mouths move or don't move.
Let's be honest. I think that's what got them an Academy Award, was the fact that they could give expression. You could tell, their expression on their faces. The mouths move with the actor, So I think that's probably why they got. But let's be honest. Academy Award doesn't mean you're necessarily the best of anything. It's just the most popular within the Academy. Because I mean, look at poor Spielberg. Was how long did it take him before he got? I mean, because it was all political.
Speaking of Spielberg, I was watching a little like background on this thing, and Spielberg and Lucas both are like, yeah, this is the movie that I looked up to. This is the movie that I was trying to emulate. And Lucas was like, a lot of people compare like the ships of Star Wars and 2001. He's like, there's no comparison. 2001 is leaps and bounds better, which I kind of agree with because it's more realistic for us.
Well, I mean, it was the inspiration for Patrick Reed Johnson and him getting into films. And, he was a child, of course, when this film came out. I was 1 year old, so I certainly did not see it. Did not see it in the theater. I did not see it until it was on television sometime in the 80s when I was in high school, I think. So it was the first time I actually saw it, heard about it. But again, there was no way to watch it because we didn't have DVDs and VHS tapes and stuff. I had to wait till it was on television, and it was on late at night too, and it was such a long movie.
I think the first time we saw it was that when I first got a DVD player, it came with like 5 or 6 movies, and one of them was 2001, and it was the first time that I'd watched it from the beginning to the end. I've seen it a million times on TV, but to go the entire way through, no.
Oh yeah, I own it on Blu-ray now, and it's funny because I own the soundtrack long before I ever had a copy of my own of the movie. But the funny thing, Bill saying he saw it, Bill, you're older than you look then, I guess.
Was it like at the beginning of
the theater
5/25/77 where they're just sitting there with like because they don't know what's
funny
like
because the young Patrick is in awe,
enamored,
and the parents are like. You can see a lot of people in the theater going,
yeah, they're all looking confused.
Watching? And I get it. I understand people's reaction. If you are not a hardcore science fiction person, I get watching that movie can be painful for them. I understand. I do. Because you go to a movie, you want to be entertained, you want to watch action, you want to laugh, whatever, cry, be scared. But this movie doesn't have any of that. There's a little bit of tension. With one towards the end. I mean, let's face it, the most action part is when Hal starts killing people.
Or the monkey starts killing people. Either way, that's about the most action, yeah. Doc Yee says he saw it on a wraparound. What's a wraparound cinerama?
Like a IMAX?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because this was shot in like really super wide. I think it was 75 millimeter.
Yeah, I think it was too.
Yeah, I actually have a. You can't really see it, but it's a film from the film. You can see how wide it is.
Oh, nice.
It's actually the wheel you can't really see, but it's the Earth with where the clipper ship. Anyway, it's actually from the film.
It's a very neat like you had the film cell in front of the HAL light, so it was really nice.
The film cell right in front of HAL. Yeah. Yes, exactly.
I have some stuff. Of course, this is from Trek Condoroga. Them both signed.
Nice. Yes, we had Keir and Gary come out. And they were amazing. And didn't they sit and talk through, didn't we show the movie and they just kind of.
Yeah.
They showed some of the highlights.
We had live commentary.
It was like a DVD commentary in person.
These are little computer cards that you plug into HAL. Punch cards. Toys at 1968.
That is amazing. That is absolutely amazing.
So yeah, I have some stuff.
So the biggest mysteries that people, when I was researching this movie, everyone has the same round of questions, and I bet you can guess what they are. They always want to know, well, what was the monolith? What were they, and what were their jobs? What were they supposed to be doing? There's one on Earth, one on Tycho, one on the Moon, and then one out by Jupiter. That's a really popular question. What was the Stargate? What happened going through the Stargate? What was going on in that room? What was that room, that French neoclassical room? And what's the Star Baby all about? Those are probably the top 5 for this thing.
Most of them are obvious.
Yeah, I think the monoliths clearly were there by another race, a way more advanced, far advanced race that is actually helping different, whether it's we call them, if you want to look at them as God or whatever, but they're basically helping along life to become intelligent life.
Helping when you teach them how to murder. I don't
Well,
know.
that's the thing. That's a tool. They taught them how to use a tool.
Yeah, but the thing was, it was a drought. They were going to die off. They didn't have a food source because the plants were drying up. And to get a food source, they learned how to kill. When they go into the present, if you will, first thing that you should see is a weapons platform. Okay, now we've brought them this far. Now,
yeah, that match cut isn't tool to tool. That match cut is weapon to weapon.
Yeah. And then
but again, it's to me that it's whatever it did that night to Moonwatcher to change the chemistry in his brain to pick up the bone and use it as a tool rather than just yelling at each other, which is what they did before and nothing ever happened. So yeah, somehow he gave the aggression. I don't know. I would think the aggression was there already. I think they gave him the idea to use the weapon.
Well, see, to me, it was, they taught him how to use a weapon so they'd survive the famine. Whatever they did, they almost had to uncorrect, because here are the weapons platforms in space aimed at Earth, ready to nuke each other. And the Star Child is that correction. Now, what did the Star Child do afterwards? Was it like Childhood's End, where everybody started to evolve to this level? Did the Star Child come in and, do whatever? Not looking at 2010 and stuff where it was explained, but what did the Star Child do to correct this?
Yeah, I disagree with you. I don't think that was the aliens were trying to correct our. I think if we had blown each other, then they would have gone, okay, we're moving on to the next one. I think because they purposely buried the monolith on the moon,
right. Mm-hmm.
And they left it there on purpose so that they knew that we would be technologically advanced enough to move to what they felt was the next stage,
mm-hmm.
that we would find it and unbury. And then they knew that we had moved out into space.
Yeah.
And then the one in Jupiter shows up. And then why it went to Jupiter, we don't know. Now, at this point, remember, 2010 wasn't even written, so we don't even know that they were intending to turn it into another star. But the whole thing was, I think that was to draw humans out that far, to draw out one, and to literally take Poole or whoever or Bowman in and see, okay, where are they at? And
yes.
And one way it's explained at that end is that they kept giving Bowman a choice, like if he would just reach out and touch the monolith kind of thing, and he would that would be like his giving in, but he couldn't give up his human. That's why he kept aging. He couldn't give up his humanness.
I don't know about touching the monolith.
So that's why this is just one explanation. So then then they go and turn him into the Star Child. Basically, he starts over again. He's now a baby, and now he's and then he's going to come up that way.
I like the explanation of this was basically a zoo that, sort of a zoo out of time, if you will. Mm-hmm. So they monitored him for an extended period of time, understood him, analyzed him, whatever, and so that they could finally turn him into the Star Child.
That's what I understood.
Well, that's not how Clarke wrote it in the book.
So why is Stanley Kubrick running around saying that?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think, again, I don't think that they gave a crap about whether we were going to blow each other up.
Well, see,
I think they were way beyond that. I think that was like, if they blow themselves up, they weren't meant to be.
Well, see, to me, that's it's the juxtaposition with the first scene there, because of the drought, because of the dryness, because the fact that they were going to die out, they gave us a push, and the Star Child is another push.
Well, see, I think that leans more to what 2010 was, when the star showed up in the sky, when Jupiter basically imploded and became a star, And then all of a sudden people realize that we are, you know, that was the thing that created peace on Earth, because they realized that we were just a small, you know, you basically that, you know, we need to work together. We, you know, that we were part of a bigger thing. That, but I don't, in this film, I don't know. I'm not sure that that's what they were. I mean, what do you guys think? Tell me, am I way off? I don't think they gave a crap about the nuclear part. I don't think they were.
I
don't think they gave a rat's butt about it. I think if we had blown each other apart, they would have moved on to the people at Europa.
I guess
You know,
it's weird that Clarke bothered to flesh a lot of this out because of the movie. When people didn't understand the movie, Clarke said, "If you guys understood this movie, then Kubrick and I have failed."
Right.
Right, and I think you're right. And there was a lot of people, like I said, that it did MGM. It was a failure for MGM financially. In fact, they wanted to pull it out of theaters fairly quickly because it was
until the hippies of the day figured out, hey, you know what we can
the
do
nerds
with this.
came in and saw the value in it. But you know, like I said, I think there's 241 people walked out of the theater during the premiere. That's a lot of people.
Rock Hudson was like, "What the?" He was literally like,
one of them. Yeah, and it was rumored that Clarke did too because he didn't like what Stan. Now, here's the thing I think that's amazing to me. This movie was rated G.
Yeah, I noticed that.
And it's like, how did they get away with G with all the murder? I mean, 4 people were murdered.
And an animal. And a taper.
Yeah.
And, you know, well, it just, you know, check the box.
Doc.
But, you know, it's funny because because the way the 3 guys, were murdered in their sleep, but that was pretty horrific. You know the thing. He just shut off their life support. Like, yeah.
That was horrible.
Pool's like, oh, yeah. You're going to
what probably saved it.
Murder. Pool was the worst. I mean,
Pool was the worst because he knew he was going to die.
But you probably, you know, I think the saving grace was that the people who were rating the movie probably didn't get through it. Maybe they were one of the first people.
They never got to that point. They just said, "Yeah, whatever. This is so boring. It's got to be G." They're like, no. Well, I think what they said is any child would have fallen asleep before the monkeys were done.
They didn't expect you to understand it.
So they would have just been like, "There's no point." They would have been just passed out in the chair. Yeah, it just kind of struck me. I was like, "Why was this rated G?"
You should see the reaction of my kids when I put it on, because, you know, if I have a rainy or snowy Sunday or something like that, I will stick it on full volume on the stereo. My kids sort of walk in and immediately walk out.
Yeah, no, it's not a film that
it's a think piece.
If somebody is not a hardcore science fiction fan, it is not a film that I would force them to watch. I would put on Forbidden Planet before I put this on. I mean, if you're really, for people that are not sci-fi really nerds or nerds in general, I would put on, there's a bunch of other films that I think would help put people into a genre rather than this one.
Well, here's a question, and maybe I'm showing my nerdness here. Could you have done the same sort of thing with something that wasn't sci-fi? Sort of non-narrative, not as much explanation, more. I don't know. Could you do it?
Probably been done, but again, that's what's called an art house film.
Yeah, it's art house film. It's naked one.
You know, let's face it. Films are there to the most part are there to make films in theaters that we go are there to make money.
Yeah,
they're not there to make a point or anything. They're there to generate money, and I'm sure MGM. I'm surprised it got honestly when I'm surprised the execs at MGM when they screened it went, oh yeah, this is going to be a hit.
I think it's just that, you know, I think a lot of ways it came out at the right time, because, you know, the interest in the moon in 68, 69 was huge. The idea that, you know, hey, once we get to the moon, we'll, you know, that's the next step in going out into space. I think the whole hippie movement, all of that. I mean, some of the movies that were coming out at that time, you know, were absolutely insane. but it was just the right time for something like that to get that release. Because today, yeah, you're probably right. You couldn't get that out the door.
We were in the Cold War by then, right? Yeah, we were. So yeah.
Sorry,
what'd you say?
We were in the Cold War by then.
Oh, sure. We were in the Cold War right after the second. We were right after the Second World War. We were in the Cold War.
Say the monolith teaches us how to kill, and then we taught Hal how to kill. That's about right. Dr. Yee is saying the creation according to Genesis in 5 hours, less than that, 2.5 hours.
But wait,
yeah, it is.
We'll do it during 5 minutes.
Yeah, well, that's what Kubrick wanted it to be. The creation of the Star Child. He's like, he wanted it to echo a lot of our mythos here on planet Earth. But I gotta tell you guys, besides religion, I don't know of a lot of stories where someone dies and then comes back as this super. Like, do we agree that the Star Baby was like a super creature or a superhuman?
He was evolved. I think he was an evolutionary.
Definitely further evolved
at some point.
A go-between.
Yeah.
What mythos do we have on this story, on this earth, that of someone dying and coming back super evolved besides Jesus?
I'm not into my mythos, so
neither am I.
So
I don't know that. I don't know if this really reflects the human. I don't know if it's the human condition. I don't know if it reflects us this much. We don't.
Does it have to
go through stargates and come back as star babies as a general rule?
As a general rule.
I haven't done it recently. I don't know about you guys, but.
Well, a guy down the street here.
I mean, I want to know, like, because some people are like, oh, the monolith is the screen. I like Black Mirror, very Black Mirror-esque. It's the screen. It reflects us. Yeah. It shows us. I was like, well, okay, yeah, I guess.
So you haven't
done not going to be a super baby.
You haven't done all roads, and obviously Gary Lockwood is one.
Yeah, I have not done. I've kind of dropped that segment of the show, but yes, Gary Lockwood is an excellent road.
And based on Rizzo's hat, there's another one.
Oh, you're right. Well, to Star Trek.
Yep. Ed Bishop played
an actor or a behind-the-scenes person.
Ed Bishop was the pilot of the Clipper,
and he was on the animated series as a voice artist.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Was he really?
Voice.
Yep.
That's I was trying to figure out Star Trek. I knew Ed Bishop. I knew you were headed with Ed Bishop with the UFO link, but I didn't know there was Star Trek.
Yeah.
Doug Rain didn't do anything? No, I guess not.
And the guy who played Floyd did everything but Star Trek. I think
he actually was in Buck Rogers, and I looking up his thing. I'm like, what Buck Rogers episode was he in? And it was the flashback episode where they
they have him run back to actors who serve everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this thing leaps and bounds ahead of its time. Last week I was talking about Rolling Stone magazine putting out the top 150 sci-fi movies. This one came in at number 1, and it is in the top 10 of so many lists.
It is. It is a masterpiece.
Everyone look at this thing.
It's such a masterpiece, and this is one of the things that we, this literally this film is still used by the nutballs to say that we didn't go to the moon, because this film came out
because it was so accurate.
Before Apollo 11 landed on the moon, a year before it came out, and they got the look, let's face it, of the moon pretty damn accerate. And that's why
the astronauts bounced a little more when they walked. But other than that,
they're saying, oh, it's like, the joke where Kubrick shot the moon landing, but he had to do it on location. So, that's the joke. But they used this film and Kubrick's, the effects and everything, just to say, see, it was just faked.
Yeah, except the swirly bits of the when the moon lander's coming down, the dust swirls.
Yeah, there's no dust.
Yeah. The guys are answering my question about mythos. Bill says Gandalf. Gandalf's an excellent example. Doc E says Spock. Yeah, Spock. And Superman. But Superman wasn't from this planet in the first place. So I don't know if that counts. Spock wasn't from this planet in the first place either. So I don't know if that counts.
Well, that's not really... Quoting from modern pop culture television is really not mythos, in my opinion.
It is now. It is our modern mythos. It's
modern, but I mean, all these things they're quoting came out after this film, not before. Well, Gandalf. Okay, that was what
Gandalf, yeah.
Lord of the Rings was written in the 30s. So anyway, but yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say about this film. I mean, there's a lot to say about this film.
If people
There's a lot
haven't
we
seen,
could dig into.
if people haven't seen it though, take the time, get a big TV, get a good sound system, put it on disc, and just experience it. And don't look for a narrative, don't look for anything. Just sit back and be in awe.
Opening music.
And don't try to assign meaning for stuff. Just absorb it all first, and then try to decide what it
means. You have one of those fancy clock radios that'll play like an iPod or something. Put in the opening track. I can never pronounce the name of the damn.
Also,
that one. Put that on as your wake up. So it's 6 o'clock in the morning, or every time you get up for work. That'll get you out of bed. Dun, dun, dun.
I would die. Andrea would kill me.
Andrea would kill you. And sing Daisy. Or just put on Daisy. Daisy, Daisy.
That's not on the soundtrack.
What?
If you bought, at least the soundtrack I have, it's just
the
classical pieces. And really, you just need to listen to the Blue Danube over and over again.
There was an old disc by Telarc that came out in the 80s that had sci-fi hits, and it was recorded so pristinely. It actually was used as a test disc for some sound systems, and you could blow out your speakers if you put it on too hard. And they had also Zarathustra on there, and I tell you, I walked my bookshelf speakers off the shelf.
Oh yeah, it's just you have a good subwoofer. I actually broke in my, because I have the glasses on the overhead bar, like the overhead racks, and I had one came flying off of there because the vibration was. It was too bad it was a crystal glass too, which smashed everywhere. But I mean,
bring back that memory.
Yeah, it's all right. It's things. They're just things. They're just things. So, we didn't really even talk about what is interesting. It's all the hour's just up, and we didn't even really talk about Hal at all.
That evil little monkey.
We
started to when we were like, why did he keep it a secret from Dave and from Poole and Bowman? But what? Yeah, how? Didn't they program? Can you just program say, you guys keep it a secret? Why did that have to screw up the rest of his programming? I don't understand that.
Well, the thing was, to me, it wasn't keeping it a secret. It was, keeping it a secret made the crew not part of the mission. And Hal, to me, decided that, something? The crew are the weak point here. The crew are the failure.
He must have.
And I got to get rid of the crew because they're the random point here. I can accomplish the mission by myself.
Execute that mission no matter what. The crew could have said, no, we're not. So he had to eliminate them. They talk about it in 2010, and now I forget.
They fleshed that out because they did say that the computer was capable of completing the mission. And then again, they kind of explain what went on in Hal's AI brain and why.
If you sat there at the beginning and said, okay, you and the crew know all about this, the whole mission parameters and stuff like that, you're a team, I don't think it would have had this schism. But because they weren't in the know, Hal was in the know, I think it created that.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's just it. You got to remember, Hal was like a child in a lot of ways, and he couldn't understand the secrecy part of it. He couldn't understand. That's what he was struggling with. He was ordered not to tell them, but that it was against his base programming of being fully open and honest with anybody human. Mm-hmm. So that's where the conflict was starting. Whereas he was told he was told to lie. And I guess again, they explain that too. He doesn't know how to lie. He was never programmed that way. He doesn't understand that's human behavior. Not, you know what I'm saying? And that's what drove him crazy. It was that paradox in his brain going round and round. He's saying, I'm not supposed to lie, but I have to lie. Norman, coordinate, that kind of thing. So that's what drove him insane. Now, why he decided to kill, that's as good a reason as any, I guess, that he just felt he just gets rid of everybody and he doesn't have to worry about the lie anymore.
still
Well, like I said, to me, it was less of the lying, more about the fact that, hey, they're not part of they're not in the know, they're extraneous. And oh, by the way, there was the part where Dave's talking to him, and something about, yeah, if this happens, then we're going to have to do that. And to me, that planted the seed of, they're the weak point.
That's when he decided to kill the crew, is when they said, we got to shut him down.
Yeah. Well, no.
Why he detected the fault that wasn't there in the first place was just to get people out there.
There was nothing wrong with the antenna. I don't think there was anything wrong with it.
No, and they proved that. That's what they said. If we put the unit back in place and it doesn't fail, that means he was wrong and there's something wrong with him.
Yeah.
And they were going to shut him down.
He just practicing lying?
That's really when he decided to murder them, because he realized that
Bowman went out in the first place to get it and made it back in, and he didn't murder Bowman in that first trip
because
out.
at that point they went through and they said, well, there's nothing wrong with this thing. And that's what Hal said, gee, I don't understand. So, and then once they had the conversation where he read their lips and he realized that they were going to shut him down because he knew the unit wasn't going to fail. And then he decided, well, I got to get rid of these guys because I have to complete the mission. The mission has to come first. Now, why he killed the scientists, probably for the same reason he killed Bowman. When the scientists woke up and found Bowman and Poole dead, they probably would have shut him down anyway. So anyway, yeah, it's clearly, but I think it was that point of saying I think they said it best in 2010. It's like, humans don't have a problem lying. It's easy for us to lie. Hal doesn't know how to lie. And that's what they're saying. He couldn't handle the conflict.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, we are past the hour. I think we have talked a lot about this film. This is certainly a great film. If you have never seen it, Alex, go watch it.
I'll invite. This is an open invitation to Alex to come on over to my house with my good stereo system, my big screen TV, and I'll put it on for you.
I did introduce her to Forbidden Planet, and she kept my copy. So I bought another one. It's $12.
Jesus H.
So, well, I'm more than happy to. If somebody enjoys a film like that and they want to keep it, I'm more than happy to give up my copy as long as I can get another one.
Yeah, not my 2001 copy because it's signed by Lockwood and.
Well, that's you can always get another disc and stick it in. Just give them the. Anyway, all right. Well, we don't know again what we're doing next week.
Roy and Phil are doing. Roy on Friday. Roy's doing the 1984 Tom Selleck movie called Runaway. Phil will be on tomorrow night, and he will be on Friday night for Friday Night Freeform. But he does say he is still not feeling 100%, so he'll be trying to avoid talking a lot on both of those shows. So as we all music guys, tune in to catch some great prog rock tunes.
Yeah,
and yeah, we don't know what we're doing.
Film from that has Kirstie Alley in it, and what's his name from Kiss?
Couldn't tell you.
The guy with the tongue there, Gene Simmons. Yes.
If you say so.
Yeah.
I have no idea what this movie is.
It's a sort of let's say almost cyberpunky. About a lot of it's like a mystery, cop mystery, but there's a lot of tech in it. Little robots.
Sure.
That kind of thing. So it wasn't a bad film. I actually considered doing it for us, but Roy can do it because it really wasn't a great film. It was entertaining for 1984 or whatever it came out. So, but we'll come up with something for next week. I thought I had something and then it disappeared on me, guys. So sorry. But we'll come up with something. Bruce, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure as always.
Beth, and we will see you guys next week with something. You know us, we'll figure it out. So until then, live long and prosper. Good night, folks.
Good night.